Okay, so here we go. It's Thursday, March 16th already. Can you believe it? The third Thursday of the month. And it's our team health coach training. So I'm really excited tonight because we're just blessed. I mean, we have such a rocking team, you guys. I mean, even last month, I mean, we just are hitting record numbers in terms of how many people we're helping, which is such great synergy within everybody. And the one thing that I think we're really blessed for is that all of us are learners. We keep coming, wanting to learn how to refine our skills, and that's how you build a business. That's how you build a successful business, is through learning and through experience. So thanks for showing up and taking time. And we're going to talk tonight. Last month, we just decided to kind of go to the basics. And if you remember, if you were on the call last month, or if you haven't watched it yet, we talked about a quality share. You know, there's a big difference when we talk to somebody who might be curious about our program and how we present it. You know, are we just going to be telling them about the program, or are we going to ask questions and then really share based on what their needs are? And we talked about the fact, and most of the feedback was incredible about that. It's just, you know, the value of questioning and the way we approach it makes a real big difference in the outcome. But even so, every single one of us, I mean, every coach that's going to speak tonight, we all had our first day as a health coach. Excuse me, I've had allergies. We've all had our first day as a health coach, and we've all had people tell us no before. And no is really just a reflection that somebody's not ready yet for the program. Or, so I like to think of no as not yet, or no means they don't KNOW. They don't really know. They don't really understand our full offering and how it can benefit them, or they don't really know how hard it can be for them to try to do it on their own or with another program, or that other programs are not as comprehensive as we are. So that's a big piece of it. And what we're going to, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to come back, and they usually do. And so that's a real skill and a strategy, is how do you walk through that conversation with somebody when they're not quite ready to say yes on that phone call or that meeting over coffee? What do you do next? Maybe if they have specific questions or concerns, maybe some sort of objection about the price, maybe there's something we can talk through there, but then there's other things we can do in follow-up. And then what do we do if everybody we've talked to so far has not said yes yet? Then what? So we've got a great team of leaders, so I'm really going to ask them to share their experience as far as these topics. We're going to start with Vicki. And Vicki, if you would just share a little bit about, you know, how you approach something you said really great the other day, was just a reminder that anytime you talk to somebody about the program, it's simply a conversation. But then how do you handle things if somebody is maybe not ready yet? Maybe they just say, you know what, I just can't afford something like that, or they want to try a different plan, or they want to eat meal, they don't want to eat the meal replacements. Can you just kind of walk through how you handle that?
Because you never know where the person's coming from. I think what I typically will say, I mean, obviously it's always better to ask questions because you want clarification on why they think they can't afford it. Because a lot of times, and I know for me personally, my experience at the beginning was, oh my gosh, $300, like that's a big, you know, in our marriage, that's just a lot of money to spend on something without sort of checking with the other person. So what we ended up doing was we split my husband and I split the first order just to kind of make sure it worked, make sure we worked. And then of course, you know, week one, we were down 5 pounds. Well, after that, we were scrambling for our second order because we weren't going to let that slip away. So sometimes just when you share that moment for people, I think it makes you more relatable because you identify with their concern about money. And sometimes if they can think about a spouse or friend who maybe wants to do it with them, to just offshoot that initial onset, because then it's kind of going back to the conversation, well, if you knew you could have success with this, how important is the money? You know, just kind of getting them to think beyond the dollars, but more about how it's going to move them forward with their health. And then, of course, getting them to think about, well, how much do they usually spend? How much do they go out to eat per week? How many times do they drive through Starbucks per week? And then when you break it down to about $14 a day and they think, oh, wow, they just spent that just for one meal at lunch, it gives a little bit of a reality check. Because I think that people don't realize how much they actually spend on groceries if they don't really track it for a month.
So that's a good point, because what you're saying is that, you know, somebody's initial reaction could be, I can't afford that, because they're thinking of it's, you know, X amount of dollars over and above what they currently spend. So you're just taking the time to kind of go with them and say, you know what, there's a phrase called feel, felt, found. Like, you know what, I kind of felt that way too, right?
Right.
Share with you what I found, you know. I'm going to ask you, it's kind of impromptu, but Mindy, could you share about your experience? Because I think that you had something around the money a little bit, didn't you? And then you and Nick looked at your finances.
Yeah, so Vicki Black is my aunt, and of course they had fantastic results, and so we started asking her about it, and initially we were like, there's just no way, like that's a lot of money. For us, it was a lot of money. But we just sat down at the table one night and we went through our bank account, like, and just started adding up literally everything that had anything to do with food, whether it was coffee or a soda or, you know, just running to the store for this or that. Like if it was food related, we wrote it down and tallied it. And when it came down to it, we were like, it was way more that we were spending per month on the two of us for food. This actually kind of helped us rein that in a little bit, because we know exactly we're spending this, you know, my husband and I both do an order. So we have every 2 weeks we have an order, and then just our groceries. And so in some ways it's been cheaper than how we were eating before, because we really know what we're spending now. So.
And that's a great story, right, to share with people. Or you can even, I've used your story with other people. I said, you know what, you know, there's a client, you know, a coach on my team that had a similar experience, and when they went and added it up, and it's not just one person, they've got both people in the family on it. So sometimes that relevance can help talk through that. Yeah, thanks, Mindy. I know I kind of asked you impromptu.
Yeah. To talk to people about when they also have a family. For us, it's just me and Nick. But when there's kids involved, they still have a hard time because they're really thinking about the grocery budget.
So yeah, that's a good point. Vicki, can you add a little bit about that with, like, if somebody says, well, yeah, it's not just me, I'm still buying for the family?
Well, the Lean and Green, all they have to do is add a you know, rice or beans or whatever extra carbohydrate. I mean, Lean and Green is pretty much, when you talk about heart healthy for family and just health for family and modeling for kids, it's a great opportunity to get the whole family healthy. And if somebody's not on plan, or the kids, it's just a matter of adding in a starch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. That's, you know.
And I like what you said too, when I think you kind of alluded to it, like if another question can be, and sometimes I find that if somebody makes an objection about the money, if that's what their objection is that asking the question, okay, well, if there was anything else besides, if we could make it work out with the money, is there anything else that would be holding you back from doing this? And sometimes that will uncover something else that's really going on with the individual. So, so that's a really good point. And then I think the other thing to do is just keep this in mind, because this happened one time with a coach that I had, that she kept running into the objection. She's like, everybody says it's too expensive. Like, nobody can afford this. And so the question I asked the coach was, I said, well, I have a question for you. Do you think it's expensive? And she said, I kind of do. And so because she had apprehensions and reservations about the cost of the program, the way that she was communicating with it, that was being radiated out to the clients as well. And she wasn't feeling confident in talking about it. So we had to work through, like, okay, you know, the math, and say, okay, but look, this is really something that can help somebody. And just all the things that Vicki said. And she kind of had to make that shift. And then suddenly money wasn't an obstacle anymore. Like, that wasn't showing up anymore as the obstacle. So sometimes, and these are just kind of things to work with your coach on. If you're finding the same pattern all the time, like everybody's saying no, and it's for this reason, it might be something to work through with your coach. But Vicki, how do you handle it with if anybody, you know, let's say that they say, well, you know, I was really hoping that I could just do this with you know, eat what I want to eat. How do you handle conversations around that, the actual food?
How's that working for you? I mean, that's just the reality. When people have all the yes, but I want to do this, yes, but I want to do that, I just always try to take it back to, well, have you been doing that? And they usually get the, well, yeah, well, is that getting you the results that you want? because there's that little bit of disconnect between what people want and then the results that they want. So I think, and then it's a platform to talk a little bit about the fact that, our fuelings are really dehydrated food. They've got, 100% of the recommended daily allowance of vitamins and minerals. It's complete nutrition. It's giving them everything that they are going to need. And that it's not like going and having a Kind bar or, a Nature Valley granola bar. It's not, the nutrition piece is the game changer. And then I'll, talk a little bit about balanced blood sugars, but usually I'll just try and come back with the question, because usually when you ask the question, they sort of get that, I guess it's not working so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good response. Or, sometimes I'll even ask like, well, let's just talk about yesterday. Like, like they'll say like, oh, I really am a healthy eater. I'm like, okay, well, great. Well, let's just kind of look at what you ate yesterday. And I swear every time the answer is, it doesn't matter if I'm asking it on a Monday, a Tuesday, or Wednesday, or Sunday, the answer is always, oh, yesterday wasn't a good day. So I think there's a disconnect a lot of times with individuals of what they think they want or the ideal and what's really happening. So if we can talk that through, and whenever I talk about the food plan, I've always asked a lot of questions. And one question I always ask people is, have you ever tried to lose weight before? And we know that they have, right? We know they have. So what got in the way? What made it difficult? What made it difficult? And more often than not, I find that they'll say, well, it was just hard to keep up with, or they tried. Somebody I just talked to earlier tonight, she had tried to do like the fast metabolism diet. And she said, I swear, I spent all day Sunday trying to prepare my meals for the week. So when I delivered the plan, I was like, wow, you were going to love this because you're not going to have to do all that cooking, so it was delivered in a way to show her how she was going to love it.
Right.
That's great. Okay, so very good. So there's those conversations, but at the end of the day, they still might not be ready yet, right? And so very often, again, whatever it is they're saying, it's just a reflection they're not ready. And that's okay, right? Because we're going to be here. We want them when they're ready. So the next step in the process is the connections and the follow-up afterwards. Because, again, what I said is no is not yet. Right? So they're not ready yet. And for the majority of people, I've been coaching for 6 years. Many people that I've spoken to through the years have come back. It might be 2 weeks later. It might be 2 months later. I've had people come back 2 years later and say, you know what? I want to talk about that program again. So Susan, why don't you walk us through, Susan Gieslin's going to join us. And Susan, walk us through a follow-up process. There's direct things we can do, indirect things. How do we stay connected without stalking people to find them when they're ready?
I always like to talk about why do you follow up to begin with? It's like you said, they're not ready yet, but people are really busy, but they really do need us. I mean, especially if they reached out to begin with, obviously they're looking. So that's really important to remember that follow up is key. And we're professionals. I mean, we're professional health coaches. We work for a well-being organization. It's not just a diet program. We're not just here to help somebody lose weight, but we're there for optimal health. And so we have to have that mindset that we are professionals. So there's two ways. There's a direct kind of follow-up, and then there's the indirect. That's kind of what we've been talking about here a little while. And so when you look at how you follow up directly, okay, so you have a conversation with somebody and they're like, I don't know. And say, okay, how about we connect in a week, and I can, or in a couple of days or whatever works, find a time that's mutually convenient and I can answer your questions, or we can, discuss a little bit further. So you set a time to call them back and you follow through with it. Definitely follow through, put it on your calendar. And then, you can also follow up with them through emails. We do like the phone calls just because it's more personal. You can really talk to somebody. But directly keeping them in touch. So you periodically check in with them with a phone call, an email, stuff like that. And just say, how are you doing? How's your health? Are you where you want to be? Is there any, would you like to, get together again? And I can talk to you about any of the questions you have about the program. But you kind of keep them on a calendar. Have something that's, specific for you that works. But after a while, you can keep doing that and they're not answering you back or whatever. We like to do what we call the off the hook kind of approach. Say, look, I'm not going to keep bugging you. I don't want you to think I'm stalking you. I'm just, I want you to know that I'm here. And if it's okay with you, I'll check in with you maybe once a month or something just to see how things are going. But I'm not going to bug you. You can, you know how to reach me. I'm always available, kind of thing. So that's kind of like off the hook, where they don't feel like, they won't take your calls because, I don't know what to say to her. So that's kind of like the direct way. The indirect way is really fun because you can connect with people just by touching them in places like Facebook, paying attention to their likes, their comments, kind of mark them as like a friend where you can see, you get your notifications that they've posted something, so you can kind of keep track of them that way. It's nice to keep, if you have their birthday, text them happy birthday, or send them a card, or text on a certain, holiday, like tomorrow, happy St. Patrick's Day, that kind of thing. But just ways to kind of keep you in their forefront of their mind, because eventually it's going to come to a point where they're like, I got to do something. And they give you a call or they reach out to you. But if they keep hearing about you and how, you're always advocating health and a healthy living, healthy eating, healthy lifestyle, they're going to remember that. So it's that keeping that brand of you in their forefront. And so another way is just, that's pretty much what I had. But I wanted to add one quick little thing in there that I learned today. I was watching a small little video from Dan Valentine, and he was talking about disappointment, because we're all going to have disappointments. We're going to have those no's. We're going to have those people that decide they don't want to do it. And he gave this excellent advice that I wanted to pass along, that the best way to handle disappointment is taking massive action. Go out there and talk to more and more people, write down 20 names right away and contact them. And so I was watching that today and said, you know what, I'm going to do that.
That's really, that's great advice, because every one of us has disappointments in our business. And I love that what you just said. I think I probably should have backed up and prefaced, if you've never been aware, when we talk to people about the program in general, right? So let's say you posted your before and after or something, and somebody's asked you about the program. For a lot of people, they're just curious, right? They're not really at a state of readiness. They're just like, hey, what'd you do? It's just more of a curious. But now you're planting that seed. Statistically, they say it's about 1 in 5 people, when you talk to them, are ready right now. Right now, those numbers might change. I mean, for some of us, once you start to grow a business, a lot of my clients come to me through referrals, right? So they've already talked to, one of my clients. They have a pretty good idea of what they're doing already. They call me. They're 3/4 of the way there. So I would say probably my numbers like maybe 1 in 2 or 3, or they're ready to go. But in general, it's 1 in 5. So what that tells us is exactly what Susan said. It's just talking to more people, and we're going to go to that next. So it's just purely a numbers game. And wasn't going to have her speak. Debbie's going to join us and speak about something else. But Debbie had a great example where she shared on Susan Palace's call, where she was doing a lot of action, talking to a lot of people in November, December, January. They weren't ready. And so she was getting a little frustrated. But guess what? Bam, they started popping, in February and March, that they were ready. So and we talked about it, that the key is then that continuous action, so that funnel stays full, and those no's are not really disappointments, because when they're coming, and another one's going to be ready soon. And we're just trying to match, we've got this program that's the bomb. I mean, the one thing hopefully you do recognize is that you have something that does not match or compare to anything out there. The world doesn't quite know that yet. They don't really understand what we do. So it takes time, for that. So Susan, those were great tips. I think, did you mention the newsletter too? Like if you have a newsletter, I might have missed.
That's a good point too. If you have a newsletter with Take Shape for Life, definitely put them on the newsletter, or some sort of form of email or something like that, where they can get something from you on a regular basis. It's a great idea.
Absolutely. Anybody that you've spoken to, I recommend, I fill out a client profile, one of the health trackers. I fill it out on everybody. Anybody I have a conversation with, whether or not they've said yes or not. If they have not said yes yet, I make sure everybody I've spoken to, I've connected with them on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook. And I also then they go on my newsletter. And then, because I'll say to them at the end of the conversation, well, hey, I've got a newsletter. It has healthy tips and recipes. Would you like to get that? And they always say yes. So now they're on your contact list. And then I put them in the front of my binder, and they're on like she said, have a calendar, have a specific follow-up system. And we've got some additional training available on follow-up. And then that was a really good point, what you said. I've not been doing that, but I think I'm going to implement it, is that within Facebook, you can create groups. Okay, so you can create groups of like, close friends, like people who live in your proximity. You could create a group called pre-clients. They don't know that you're that group, but when anybody posts that's in one of your specified groups, it will show up in your newsfeed. It's a way that you can make sure that you see what your friends are posting. So that could be an opportunity that you can then like and comment on and stay connected with them. So that was really good advice. So I'm going to ask Julie to join us, Julie Apple. Thank you, Susan, for that. And Julie, let's talk a little bit about, so you had your hopes up, you've talked to a few people, they're not ready yet. So then what? Because maybe you don't have anybody immediately on your list of who to go and talk to next.
Yes. Really quick on the Facebook thing, I was just going to say, be careful which kind of group you make, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know exactly which group you're talking about, but don't make a public group, maybe.
Okay, no, I know, and I know what you're talking about. So I'll find it and put some directions out. Thank you.
Yeah. But on who else to talk to, I think we all come to that place. There's been several times where I feel like maybe a few months go by and things are all going great. And then all of a sudden I'm like, talk to Dee on Thursday and I'm like, Dee, I feel like everything stopped. Like, what should I do? And so we've kind of strategized together. And what I'm always taking away is, okay, it's time to make my circle bigger. It's time to start reaching different people and something I need to change, because if I'm not talking to people, there's no way this business is going to grow. So it's left to me. Nobody else is going to bring the people to me and connect them to me. So some of the ways I've done that is through like leagues, like I play tennis, different ways to meet new people. Yesterday, I was telling Dee, I got this cool opportunity to go to a couple of my clients or teachers, and I went to their school and read a book with their classes. And it was a healthy book, and the kids just started asking all kinds of questions. And I thought, never know who this could reach. They'll tell their parents. You never know. You just don't know where the seeds are planted. And I think your intentions, obviously, I'm only going there to help these kiddos, like just for fun. But if you enjoy doing it, why not expand your circles and do the things you already enjoy? Because realistically, you're probably going to meet somebody that enjoys the same things. So I was talking to another coach when we were at Go Global, and she just moved to a new city, and she was saying, gosh, it's been hard being in a new city. I don't have as many connections anymore. And I said, well, what do you enjoy doing? And she said, well, I love hiking. I love yoga. And I thought, I said to her, well, why don't you join like a hiking club and start doing yoga and doing a walking women's group or things that you already enjoy? Go meet those people that are doing it. And so sure enough, she's been posting on Facebook some different things. And so sometimes it's just like getting out of your own head of, this is my life, this is what I do. What else can I do? Where else can I broaden this circle? So that's kind of what I've tried to do. And usually inevitably, like we often saying, those seeds keep getting planted, and I'm like walking proof that it may take 4 years, but eventually you'll come back, people will come back to you, and they'll be watching on Facebook, and they're constantly like keeping their eyes out for the next transformation story you're doing, or what are you posting? So it's just about planting seeds and letting the right time, they're going to pop up and be ready.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. And, that's the thing, is that it just made you step back and think bigger, and I will say, anytime I've been stuck and I'll go to my business coach, I mean, she never says never gives me specifics. It's just more like, you need to talk to more people. And she'll just like raise some questions like, okay, does everybody in your world, does everybody at church know that you're a health coach? Does everybody at, whatever know that you're a health coach? And she's right. I mean, what it is I just haven't been reaching out to as many people as I could. And so that's good. And I mean, recently what I did, if it helps with any new ideas, I joined a new women's Bible study group in my community. It was a new initiative and gathering. And I thought, you know what, let me just be a part of this. It was something I wanted to learn about anyway. So I'm building a lot of new friendships. And then, through those connections, I know that it will probably lead somewhere. I didn't join it with the intention of signing up people in the group or anything like that. But what I did was joined it in order to increase and make more relationships with people. I also just recently joined a book club because honestly, I love to read, and I always have a business book or a personal development book, but I rarely take time to read for fiction and fun. So I honestly joined the book club to force myself to, read for fun and read some different things. And I'm meeting some really great people as a result of it. So those are just some real simple ideas. So I want to keep it rolling to respect your time. And thank you guys. Thank you, Julie, Susan, and Vicki for your excellent contributions. And we'll post this recording. But a couple of things I wanted to let you know, just a quick shift. What we're going to do, because we know that we have so much available to us, right? We've got Monday night Dr. A leadership calls. We have Susan Palace's call on Tuesday nights. Wednesday night it's a health call. So we really want to respect everybody's time and try to really make the best use of everybody's time. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the first Thursday of every month, we do our client call, which is usually a 20 to 30 minute call. What we're going to do is we're going to follow that immediately with our health coach call right after it. And we're going to invite, most of us are usually talking to somebody about becoming a health coach anyway, who's a potential client. We're going to invite them to stay on. There's no reason they can't hear about the things we talk about. And in fact, it might reassure them that this is the kind of training that we provide. So we're going to start that on Monday. The first Thursday in April, which is April 6th. And we're going to move the client call up to 8 p.m. And then we'll do the coach call at 8:30, but then it'll only be once a month. All right, for this. So we're excited about that change, and hopefully that frees you up for more conversations with people and things to do. Super excited that ongoing training is so important. And in our business line, we are directly connected to a presidential director. A presidential director is the highest rank in our company, and what it reflects is that they are helping thousands and thousands of clients through helping hundreds of health coaches. And our direct presidential director, his name is Dan Bell. He came in right after Dr. A, and he is a businessman of all businessmen. He may not be the most empowering, energetic speaker, but I will tell you from a business perspective, metrics, how to grow a profitable health coach business, it's unmatched. And what you can learn from this man can really transform your business. He has agreed to come and teach for our team, for Susan Palace's team. He's going to be in Atlanta on Saturday, April 29th. So encourage you to save the date for that. Beth is happy. It was going to be one of 2 dates. Save the date. We'll have more details. If you live out of the area, encourage you to come in. I have 3 extra bedrooms. You guys can stay for free at my house. We'd love to have you. So just think about that. And then one last thing I want to just plant the seed about is our national convention. It's every July, and now is the time to think about it. And every one of us joined this, made a decision to become a health coach, most likely so that we could help a lot of people and make a business from it. But it's new for us. So whatever you do in your regular career, if you're working outside of this, you went to school for it, you have experience, you've been trained. So we can't just leap usually from jumping into health coaching and leaping to making $40 or $50 or $100,000 a year. We can do it and it can happen quickly, but it takes education and it takes implementation and practice. So I call convention Take Shape for Life University. It's learning from the best. And so I just want you to plant the seed about that, because it's a way to start thinking about it, making plans. If you don't have the money for it, we can start talking about how we can make that happen. And I want to take 30 seconds because we're low on time, but I wanted to ask Debbie Pasco to share with us. Debbie, you've been to convention twice. Yeah. And I know you went pretty early on as a health coach, and just share with us what you learned and how it changed your vision of your business.
All right, in 30 seconds.
No, or a minute. You can have a minute.
So I was brand new as a coach when convention was happening, and it was happening in Orlando, which was a couple hours from my front door. So I decided that I would go ahead and do it, because I definitely had seen enough in what I was seeing already I wanted to learn more, because I knew I wanted to be invested in learning more about doing this business. So I went, and I can't tell you how valuable going was for me. I feel like I went in kind of as a starry-eyed, this is going to be cool, but had no clue the depth that this company is, and the integrity, and just how great this is and how big it can be. So I went in, before convention, before that going in, I went in thinking, yeah, this is going to be cool. And I walked out thinking, holy cow, I could change my life. And I don't think I realized how huge it was. And having seen the kinds of other people that were there, and seeing that so many of the people there were health professionals and were good people. I mean, like, it wasn't just a bunch of people that were there with this really cool business model. It was a bunch of people there who really were passionate about helping other people, and they were kind, and they were good, and they were patriotic, and they were spiritual, and they were like just all these things that just, there was so much depth to these people. And I remember the night of the awards thing, there was a woman that was having an issue with her not feeling well, and she thought she was having an asthma attack in the gift shop, and another lady stopped and said, you don't look like you feel well. Well, it turned out the woman who stopped to help was a cardiologist, and it turned out the woman that was having what she thought was an asthma attack was actually having a heart attack. Mm-hmm. So these two strangers, were kind to each other. This doctor was helping this person who's having a problem. She rode in the ambulance with her to the hospital rather than going to the awards ceremony, because that was what she knew she should do. So it's that kind of thing. And then just everything that I learned, all the people that I talked to, there was just so much. I don't know that I would still do it if I hadn't gotten the infusion of excitement and energy and knowledge from going to convention. So I highly recommend that you go to convention. Everyone, brand new coaches, go. It's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, we sometimes load up 4 people in a room, whatever, make it happen, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I mean, really, I think I was the same way. I was a coach for 3 months, and my coach said, I should go, and I thought, no way, like, I can't go. I just started this, and I don't want to. And I mentioned it to my husband, and he said, why wouldn't you go? I mean, that's your education. I mean, he was like, duh, you go. And the next month I hit executive director. It just like opened my vision about what was possible with it. And I realized I was holding myself back. So anyway, it's always an individual decision, but just wanted to put that out there because we have some time beforehand to plan it. So thank you guys. We'll post this recording, and we are always available to you to help you move forward. So thanks for your time. Have a great night. Bye.